My friends. Here we are. It's week number 5. It's already kicked off with literally the worst football game that anybody's ever seen. I don't care what football game you're talking about. I don't think anything matches the ineptitude of the Colts versus the Broncos. Do you know how it's ESPN Instant Classic? This was an ESPN Instant Nightmare. I mean, really. I asked this question. It's very simple. How does Nathaniel Hackett have a job today? How does he have a job? You can't call a game like he's calling and still be employed in the NFL. You can't. It was that bad. If you don't know to run the ball and kick a field goal to win the game, I don't know what else to do for you. If you don't know to kick a field goal in the overtime to at least get a tie out of this travesty, I don't know what else to do for you. Jalen Wright Hackett is a bottom 3 head coach in the NFL. Bottom 3. Tell me the 2 guys worse. Please tell me the 2 guys worse. I'd like to know. Because I think there's like pond scum and Hackett is below that. That's how bad it is. Cliff Kingsbury. No, Kingsbury's better. Kingsbury's better. Kingsbury at least does a decent job with some of the people there. Hard to make us not like football, but the 2 worst head coaches in the NFL did it. I know. And Frank Reich is no better, but I will cut him a break. And here's why. I will cut him a break. Jonathan Taylor's not there. Shaquille Leonard's not there. You have literally one of the best 2 offensive football players in the NFL and one of the best 2 defensive players in the NFL, and they're not there. And Nyheim Hines gets a concussion. So you know what? I'll have to give him a pass. But I've said this right here on the Bettor Sports Network. I can't tell you how many times. What have I said? Stop with bringing in these old, decrepit quarterbacks. Phil Rivers past his top prime. Carson Wentz past anything. And Matt Ryan, who's ready to go to retirement home in Boca. Start over. If I were a Colt fan, I'd want to suck. I would. I'd want to suck. Go out and get me CJ Stroud next year. Heavy T says, shout out to Boca. There you go. So that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I would want the best young quarterback next year. Do I want to be 8-9 with Matt Ryan, or do I want to be like 1-16? Give me 1-16 all day. Let me suck. Let me just really be bad. And then I go get CJ Stroud. Then I'll be better. I'll be a lot better. Because what we saw yesterday was just a joke. I mean, even the announcers were laughing at them. The announcers were laughing at them. I mean, what does that tell you when the announcers are laughing at you? Awful. All right, but I am Dr. Roto. Welcome to the Bettor Sports Network. You know what I love about the Bettor Sports Network? We interact all show long, right? Nick Durr says, how good is Billy Joel at MSG? Awesome. If you ever listen, I mean, if you love Billy Joel, go see him at MSG. I've seen him at MSG. I've seen him out in Long Island where he was great. I saw him in Tampa, which is where I got this shirt. But when you listen to, Good Night Saigon in MSG, you get a chill. I'm just telling you that right now. It's great. Jalen says, I'm with you. Dr. Roto. Stroud is the best quarterback in college. He's awesome. Watch on Saturdays to know about Sundays. You know who Hendon Hooker is? You should. Plays for Tennessee. He's really good. These are names you want to know. Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State, might want to know him. Raheem Sanders, plays for Arkansas, might want to know him. They're just guys you want to know. I want to know Saturday players on Sunday. Jalen says Hooker is a Heisman candidate. You better believe he is. And they're going to beat LSU badly. Jalen Hyatt, you want to know who he is. They're just guys you want to know. Xavier Worthy, guys we want to know. I say it to you now, I say it to you again. Right? So pay attention on Saturdays. Play a little DFS. And by the way, if you play college football DFS, and even if you don't, especially actually if you don't, you got to check out my guy, Al White. Al White was born to be a college football expert. And actually he's great in golf too. Al is just in college football and golf. He is unlike anybody I've ever been around. This dude, I literally just read his articles and I cash. Now, I take a little bit of what I know, but it's very minor. I just look at what Al says. I'm like, oh, it makes a lot of sense to me, and I put it together. But I love it. So I want to address something here. Spy says, Doc, Russell Wilson is killing me. Let me say this straight up right here, right now, so that everybody out there can hear me. Cut Russell Wilson now. Cut him now. That's it. I have Russell Wilson in a couple of leagues. He is a backup. I'm not even keeping him as backup. I'd rather have Zach Wilson than Russell Wilson. I kid you not. I kid you not. At least the Jets will be playing from behind most weeks, and Zach Wilson will be slinging it. That's right. Nick says Zach is the best Wilson in the NFL right now. I think Garrett Wilson may be the best Wilson, and Jeff Wilson may be the best Wilson, especially this week, by the way. Love Jeff Wilson in DFS. But I want no part of Russell Wilson. None. Zero. And the Hall of Fantasy League, man, I picked up Jared Goff 3 weeks ago. I haven't looked back. The only week I'm not playing Jared Goff is next week. Heavy T asks, is Bailey's app worth using in DFS? I don't think so. I think the guys you want to have in that game are Damian Harris, Jacoby Myers, and Ramondre Stevenson. But we will be breaking down these games. We will be breaking down these games from a seasonal and a DFS and a betting perspective. Okay? That's what we're going to do. I have Chris Emmerich joining me tonight from drroto.com. And I've got a guy named Randall Knack from oddsjam.com. If you don't know OddsJam, just keep it right here. We will teach you about OddsJam. This site is like next level smart. You know when you meet somebody smart and you're like, wow, this guy's really smart. That's OddsJam. OddsJam is doing things other people don't even know. Spy says even high stakes. I have Zach Wilson and Geno's on the waiver wire. Yeah, I'm cutting Russell Wilson, picking up Geno and Zach Wilson. I will go with that. You can't be picky at this point. And by the way, Spy, did I not give you Alec Pierce earlier this week? I know I did on Tuesday. Sometimes you got to, I would play Alec Pierce over DJ Moore this week. You got to do what you got to do. Don't get hung up on name. Get hung up on what's going on here. Right? You got to go with the guys who are going to get us to places. So let's start taking a look. Okay? Let's start taking a look. All right. Giants and Packers. So this one, the Packers are favored by 8. I would lay the 8. I would. I'd lay the 8. The Giants have no passing attack whatsoever. The Giants will have a passing attack when Tony and Wan'Dale Robinson can get on the field at the same time. Like, if you root for the Giants in any way, shape, or form, you have to be praying for the day that you have Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, and Wan'Dale Robinson out there. But until you do, it's ugly. Now, here's the one thing I will say. Saquon Barkley is going to have a day. Packers run defense is terrible. Saquon Barkley is going to have a day. Just book it. But Richie James, no. David Sills, no. Daniel Bellinger, no. For the Packers, if you weren't on Allen Lazard, you should have been. Aaron Rodgers, we've said this before, we say this again, Aaron Rodgers throws to who he's comfortable with. He is obviously comfortable with Allen Lazard. I like Allen Lazard this week. I like Aaron Jones this week. I like A.J. Dillon this week. Do I love Dobbs this week? Not special. Not special. Jalen says here, Odell is probably going to sign with the Bills. His boy Von Miller's recruiting him hard. I'm all with that. If I'm Beckham, I'm chasing rings, baby. I am not chasing rainbows. I'm chasing rings. If that means I'm going to the Rams this year, and then I'm going to the Rams last year, the Bills this year, and the Eagles next year, that's what I'm doing. So my son, Little Roto, and I were in the car. And we were talking about teams who legitimately were the best teams. Who were the best teams out there? Who were Super Bowl caliber teams? Now, I want to get your opinion on this because I only think of two teams who are Super Bowl caliber right now: the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. Nobody else. Other teams are okay. Other teams are decent. Other teams may have a good week here or there. But are you telling me that the Ravens are a Super Bowl winning team? Are the 49ers a Super Bowl winning team? Are the Cowboys a Super Bowl winning team? Or right now, is it a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl? The Chiefs are not a Super Bowl team right now, Nick. You know it, and I know it. Maybe as the season goes on, but not right now. And if I told you that it was going to be Bills-Eagles, you'd be like, that's a good game. That's a game I want to pay for. I know it's a game that I'd want to pay for. Okay. Speaking of the Bills, Steelers-Bills by 14. I hate big numbers in the NFL like that. 14 is a big number. 14 is a big number. And then if the Steelers miraculously score a touchdown, I don't know, they block a punt and they get a touchdown. Now you got to come up with 21. So, but I think that number is so high that it'll keep people away from playing the Bills. But the Bills should win this game like 34-6. Now, let me say this to you. I do like Kenny Pickett. I do. And I think Kenny Pickett makes all of his skill guys better. Every last one of them. But things you have to know. One of my favorite prop bets of the week. Pat Freiermuth, under. I think his fantasy score was 9 on Prize Picks. I'm under. The Bills have let up 12 catches for 105 yards to opposing tight ends. Mark Andrews went 2 for 15. Pat Freiermuth was the security blanket for Kenny Pickett last week. I don't think that happens this week. The Bills' defense is too sharp, and Pickett will struggle. Now, if I were the Steelers, I'm being quite honest with you here, I would have prayed that Mitch Trubisky would have played well last week. I would have hoped that I won the game. I would have played Mitch this week against the Bills and then brought Pickett in. But you couldn't do it because you were going to lose that game to the Jets. With or without Trubisky, but at least Pickett gave you a chance to win. Mitch gives you no chance. For the Steelers, I really like nobody. I'm being honest with you. I'm playing Deontay Johnson because you probably don't have a guy better, but it's a 10-point week. I'm not playing Claypool. I'm not really playing Pickens. I'll play Najee Harris, but I won't feel good about it. For the Bills, Josh Allen, and Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs we like. Gabe Davis we like. Two guys under the radar nobody's talking about except right here, right now. One, Khalil Shakir. Who is he? He's really good. He's from Boise State. And two, Tommy Sweeney. Who's that? Some random tight end who might catch a touchdown when the Steelers lose 34-8 or 34-6. So I do like Devin Singletary this week. And I think those are the guys I want to pay closest attention to. Jalen says Kansas City could be in the Super Bowl, but right now it's clearly the Bills. I don't see any other team making it in the conference to the Super Bowl. I agree with that. Nobody else. Replay asks Gabe Davis or Olave. I'm going to play Olave this week. I like Gabe Davis, but I think Olave has proven that he's worth our attention. Better Boss, if you want to win a large field GPP, you play Juju and Allen Robinson. Two players their teams will force feed this week. Do you like lighting money on fire? I don't know. I mean, maybe. Maybe. Juju does better in zone coverage. Not good in single coverage. He's better in zone. Travis Kelce always beats the Raiders. Always beats the Raiders. Allen Robinson, I'm with you on that one. But, I mean, we've seen so much go to Kupp and so much go to Higbee. I'm dying to see something with Robinson. But Jalen says the following: Robinson is awful thus far and can't trust him. Those are the plays I like. The minute we say that, Robinson does better than we think. That's what happens. Replay asks Gabe Davis or Dameon Pierce. We will talk about that. When we talk about the Jaguars and Texans, we will talk about that. I will say this. The Jaguars defense is very good. They didn't look good last week for two reasons. One, it was crappy weather. And two, they played the Eagles. Eagles are good. They made Jaguars look silly. Jaguars are going to beat the Texans big time this week. Big time. Texans will stay in it. because that's what they do. They'll hang around and stay in it. But the Jaguars are a pretty darn good team. All right, we are just getting started. I've got some great guests on. I'm breaking down the games. I'm Dr. Roto. I'm back right after this.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis.
Alvin Kamara, about if I had a guesstimate about an hour before game time, gets ruled out, and it lights the world on fire once everybody wakes up. That had Alvin Kamara still in their lineups. You've got West Coasters trying to get a redo or trying to get a sub in because it's unfair that they have to wake up so early to get him out of the lineup and make sure that everyone who's active and in the lineup should be. But isn't that fantasy football, man? Didn't we warn everyone about this?
Yeah, we had this exact conversation last week, which is why it was so funny when I saw all these people on Twitter complaining and asking for a retroactive move. Because this same situation happened the last time I think Saints were in London, and I went over the story. It involved Alvin Kamara. Same thing. My opponent had Kamara in the lineup, and in the halfway through the game, he asked the commissioner, hey, I don't even know where maybe he was California, somewhere on the West Coast. Oh, I woke up late. I didn't know he's out. Can I replace him? And the commissioner comes to me and says, hey, your opponent wants to replace Kamara. I'm cool with it if you are. I said, no, I'm not cool with it, man. This is just like anything in life. It's your responsibility. You knew that there are going to be games at 9:30 a.m. Eastern this year. I hate waking up early, but you just have to wake up early and do it.
What's stopping you from going back to bed? That's the big thing. What's stopping you from that? You get up, change your lives, go pee, go back to bed. It's one of those things that from now on, when you have anyone involved in London games, it's big questionable, including injuries that you see late in the week. Let's say this happens, all of a sudden, oh, minor tweak for someone. Like, you're still waking up that morning to make sure that player is playing. It's a few weeks a year in Rome. We're lucky that the NFL doesn't go completely worldwide and we have games in different countries every single week.
Front Yard Fantasy with Simon, JL, and Coop.
Dude, Jeff Wilson looked fantastic last night.
No,
did you see that?
Jeff Wilson had one great 32-yard touchdown.
Did you see the run? Did you see the run?
JL, the run was incredible. But I just want to look at the rest of this stat line to tell you why I'm not excited about Jeff Wilson. 18 for 74. That's why I'm not excited about Jeff Wilson. 18 for 74 with a 32-yard run. So really, that's what 74 minus 32. Without that one run, that's 17 for 32 yards. Or
4.1 a carry? You're complaining about 4.1 a carry?
Yeah.
Why? 4.1's not that bad.
It's jail. Without that touchdown, we're looking at a 17 for 42-yard game, which is whatever. You know what I mean? Okay, it's fine.
18 carries. You were turning your nose up at 18 carries.
I don't hate Jeff Wilson. And it's not that I won't start him. I think he's a perfectly fine start, but that's where the line ends. Anybody who thinks he's anything more than just a fine start is where I have a problem. He's just not exciting. He's not a player that's going to just completely blow up on a given week. He got the touchdown this week. You're thrilled. But next week when he doesn't get the touchdown, when he's 18 for 57 yards, you're going to be like, well, shoot, another classic Jeff week.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. On Call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. Dr. Roto with you here from drroto.com. Check out what we're doing at our site. Videos, yes. Articles, yes. DFS, yes. Prop bets, yes. Chris Kennedy's killing it this year. I mean, literally, he in Prize Picks, he owns Prize Picks. I mean, please check out the site. I promise you, you won't regret it. Okay, Chargers, Browns. Want to break down this one for you. I want you to just stay with me here because this game is going to be antithetical to what you think is going to happen. I've got this knack. It's the visionary knack, guys. When I call it, you know what happens. It doesn't always happen, but it mostly happens. And here's what I want to talk about. Kareem Hunt. This game feels like a Kareem Hunt week to me. Everybody's on Nick Chubb. I like Nick Chubb. You like Nick Chubb. It was the hometown narrative this week. Went back to Georgia, played at UGA, family from Georgia, goes, has 118 yards. You don't even hear from Kareem Hunt. But this week, maybe Kareem Hunt finds the end zone twice, and you wish you would have played him. I'm just throwing that out there. Throwing it out there. Do I like Amari Cooper? A little bit. Do I like Nick Chubb? Enough. I think Hunt is sneaky. It's a prop bet over. Hunt gives you receptions. I like Hunt on DK. Not as much on FanDuel, but on DK, I like him. For the Chargers, you know I like Eckler. Always like Eckler. And I like Gerald Everett a little bit this week. Mike Williams, not as much as you would think. Not as much as you would think. I'm okay with Mike Williams, but I think this is more of an Eckler week and more of an Everett week. So one of my sneaky plays for this week, Kareem Hunt. All right, we got a guest in the back here. Let's see. Is Nick there? Nick, you on? How do we get Nick in? All right, we should be getting Nick in any second here now. We'll get back to that in a second. But let me talk. Let's see. Oh, here's Nick. What's up, Nick?
I'm here. What's
How
up,
you
Doctor?
doing?
Long time no talk. Just wanted to call in. I got a few things on my mind that I feel like you're the perfect guy to answer my questions.
Well, let's do it. Sorry I wasn't here last week. It was pretty major where I live. You know that, right?
Right. So,
Okay, got it.
first thing is, how much are the Bucs missing Bruce Arians? I mean, it seems like the Bulls can't get it together here with the game management. They aren't prepared every week.
I don't think it's a Bulls issue. I think it's a lack of wide receiver issue. I think it's a lack of coalescing as a group. I think it's when you don't have Godwin. Godwin is the glue. Godwin is the glue. When you don't have Godwin out there, it's an issue. Last week, they just played a better team. And Brady's off. But this week, Nick, this week in DFS, get your Brady lineups in because this has 38-3 written all over it, where Brady just doesn't stop throwing the ball and it's 323 yards and 4 touchdowns just because he can. So I think that's a better week for him.
And what do you? Gronkowski's coming back before the year. I heard you and Pilar talking on Monday that you think Gronkowski's coming back for the playoff run.
I think if the Bucs are legitimately in a playoff chase, if it's close, if Gronk thinks there's another Super Bowl possibility, then the answer is yes. But if they're mid, if this is a team that's not going anywhere, Gronk's not coming back. He's not coming back just to go through it again. I like this kid, Cade Otton, by the way. Cade Otton is a big dude, Nick. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He's got a Gronk-type build, and he's got some skills. And I think he scores a touchdown this week.
Well, Gronk for sure was enjoying himself this weekend. He was in Las Vegas having a nice retirement party. So we'll see if he comes back. But, I mean, the NFC top 2 seeds. So we'll see what happens there. But on the flip side, there are some really bad teams right now. And for me, I think it's probably the Commanders.
You think they're worse than the Broncos or the Colts? Sorry, I think we got a tough connection here with Nick. I don't know if the Commanders are that bad. I think Carson Wentz is bad. But let me just ask you this one question, Nick, if we can get you still here. How do you think the Commanders would be with Sam Howell? Sam Howell is a pretty good quarterback at UNC. He could run, he could throw. Would he just give this team another dimension that they don't have with Wentz? And how will they be with Brian Robinson coming back this week? This was their number one guy. All right, I think we're losing Nick. But Nick, if you come back, feel free to come back. I think it was just a bad connection here. I'm not really to bury the Commanders, except the defense is bad. Defense is bad. Benjamin St. Juste is really bad. Really bad. Jalen asks, you don't think Brady being in the middle of a divorce will affect him this Sunday? So, look, it's one of those things that we can't answer. When guys are in the middle of a divorce, when guys are dealing with some major issues, we don't know how they bring it to the field. Do I think that Brady is a guy that is not going to worry about Giselle for 3 hours on Sunday? No. I think Brady's the kind of guy that knows how to compartmentalize. The great ones compartmentalize. They do. The best word I have from them is they're assassins. A million things could be happening in their lives. But when Michael Jordan went out there, didn't matter what was happening. He played. When Larry Bird said, I'm going to throw 40 down on you, he threw down 40. Didn't matter what was going on in his life. He threw down 40. Right? So it's just one of those things where the great ones know how to, that's the word, compartmentalize. Right? It's almost like, how about this, being on the radio? Let's say I'm having the worst day ever, the worst week ever. But my job is not to let you see that. My job is to put on the best radio show I can and inform, entertain, and hopefully give you guys some great picks and great analysis. So I think those who can do that, do it well. All right. Sorry you got necked off, Nick, but appreciate your calling. Who's the worst team in the NFL? That's an interesting one. Let's go to the videotape here. Ooh, yeah, I got one for you, and I feel pretty good about this. I think the worst two teams in the NFL this year are the Bears and the Panthers. So first, the Panthers' defense is not bad. Their offense is wretched. And ask yourself this. If they fired Matt Rule tomorrow, they'd probably hire Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo was horrible for the Giants. When you think of the Giants and you think of the bad coaches they've hired over the years, I mean, Joe Judge, well, I mean, they're terrible. Terrible. But now they figured it out with Brian Daboll. The Bears, I like Eberflus, but that offense is really bad. They are protecting that offense by not letting Justin Fields throw it. He's just running it a million times. Now, this week, I'm going to throw it out there. I think Justin Fields breaks 200 yards passing because they're going to be behind by so much, they're going to have him throw it. But if they get to a 10-0 lead, forget about it. He's going to throw 3 times in the second half. And Heavy T, I disagree with you. I don't think the Texans are worse than the Panthers because the Texans have been in most every game. Here, let me check this out for a second. Please hold. The Texans. Week 1 was a tie with the Colts, but they were winning that game. Week 2, really close with the Broncos. Should have won that game. Week 3, how did they lose to the Bears? I have no idea. And week 4, that game against the Chargers was closer than you think. But they just haven't gelled on offense yet. That's what we need. And yes, Nick, Davis Mills is 10 million times better than Baker. If I was starting a team tomorrow in either reality or fantasy, and you said, Dr. Roto, do you want Davis Mills or Baker Mayfield? No doubt in my mind, I want Davis Mills. Baker can't handle the blitz. Baker can't handle the blitz at all. All right, so let me just finish about the Bears and the Vikings here. The Vikings are a 7.5-point favorite. Look, I like the Vikings. I think this is one of those games where you're going to see the Vikings play well. I think you're going to see one of those games where Kirk Cousins, he does very well against cover 1 defenses. The only question is this, and I want you guys to pay very close attention. Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson is a very good quarterback. If he's out there, he will slow Justin Jefferson down. He has not played the last 2 weeks. If he isn't out there, it's Jefferson feeding frenzy. If he is out there, then it's an Adam Thielen feeding frenzy. So there we go. All right, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, my friend and DFS guru, and when I say guru, I mean guru, his name is Chris Emmerich, and we'll have him on right after this.
The Playbook. Sty and Ronis. Presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
What about Zach Ertz, though, when Hopkins comes back, thinking about it long term? Do you think
you got to continue to play the guy. The tight end position is so bad. I think this week, I got to start ranking guys like Ertz ahead of Kyle Pitts.
Wow.
What do you mean, wow? What has Kyle Pitts done to continue to rank him in the top 5?
No, you're right. It's interesting, man, that he just has not come through. And I'm wondering, he had the 1 week he did, but I'm wondering if they're going to get right at all. And I'm not saying you're wrong by any stretch. He hasn't been good.
I mean, Parker Heath, the tight end for Atlanta, played more snaps than him.
Yeah.
Pitts ran 12 routes. Heath ran 6.
Just
Pitts had 4 targets. They're not throwing the football enough either. That's the problem. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure people don't have Pitts and Ertz anyway. Like, it's to the point with Pitts right now where you do have to consider another tight end over it. I'm not saying Cole Comet, but if you have Njoku and Pitts, is it really outlandish to play Njoku over Pitts right now?
No.
If you don't have Kyle Pitts or you don't follow this stuff, you don't realize how bad he's been. And I only have Kyle Pitts in a best ball, in an FFPC best ball. So it's not like whatever. And I just looked at that roster. I'm like, oh, my backup is Albert Elf. Looks like I'm in trouble. And look, it should get better for him. But the guy has 10 receptions for 150 yards, no touchdowns. Here are his game logs: 2 for 19, 2 for 19, 5 for 87, 1 for 25. I mean, this is just pathetic at this point. And people have spent the 3rd round pick on it. There's probably not much you can do. You know, I think people are like, well, I drafted him, I got to use him. You don't have to, man. You really don't. If you have David Njoku, I might play him over Pitts right now. I know it sounds crazy, but we've seen 4 weeks of this garbage.
Yeah, and even a decent matchup against Tampa for him, it's the quarterback. That's the problem. It's the quarterback. We talked about this.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Drake London yesterday. Drake London is a hell of a talent. They completed 7 passes, and they won, which is the worst part. Somehow this team is 2-2.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. On Bettor Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to On Call with Dr. Roto. Excited for my next guest. You know I love this segment. You know I love talking DFS, and no better person to do it with than my friend Chris Emmerich from drroto.com. Chris, what's going on?
Not much, Doc. Ready to talk some NFL, watching some League of Legends World Championships. So it's a good night so far.
Yeah, it is. It's a good Friday night. All right, let's kick it off with the Eagles and Cardinals. I think a lot of people are going to want to be playing Jalen Hurts. They're going to want to double stack, whether it's A.J. Brown and Goddard, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. A, is that too chalky for the Emmerich taste buds? B, do the Cardinals have anybody to bring it back with, maybe Zach Ertz in a revenge narrative? What are your thoughts there? Is this the game of the week for you?
Yeah, I mean, this game has just goodness written all over it. Both of these teams play at a fast pace. They run a lot of plays on offense, both sides. Now, the question is, will Arizona be able to keep this game close in the first half? Or are they going to have to do some second half heroics? Will they be able to do that against this Philadelphia team? So, yeah, I mean, the question that you asked is there somebody in this offense that I want to run it back with? I mean, I think Hollywood, he practiced today. He's going to play. So that's definitely the spot that I want to go to. We were worried a little bit, in the past couple of weeks about what his role was going to be as some of these other wide receivers came in. He's still getting double-digit targets. So until Hopkins is back, I think that you can just fire him up in every lineup every week if that's what you wanted to do.
By the way, Chris, Jalen asks, are you related to the legend Doc Emmerich?
I'm not, no.
Okay. So here's a question now. I sometimes like to go with the opposing quarterback in the game of the week. Can you give me any way that Kyler Murray becomes a sneaky under the radar play?
Well, I mean, he's going to be under the radar, absolutely. And I knew that you were going to bring this up. And so I just wanted to go ahead and co-sign that for you. Look, some of my biggest wins have come with Kyler as the quarterback. And this week has that potential written all over it. When you're looking at it, there are plenty of quarterbacks that you can play this week, but if you want to target this game, I think almost everybody is going to be on Hurts, and rightfully so. It makes a ton of sense. Murray hasn't looked wonderful, but at times you've seen those glimpses. If you feel like this Philadelphia team's going to get out to a lead, and I kind of think that they will, he's going to have to lead them back. And so that's the type of thing that you're going to need. We saw it last week in the Detroit-Seattle game where two quarterbacks that weren't getting a ton of attention were both parts of really good GPP winning lineups. And, Jared Goff and a 6-stack of players from that game won somebody $1 million. So
I couldn't believe a 6-stack won. It was the first time I've ever seen something like that.
Yeah, look, we had made jokes in a couple Discords that I was in earlier in the season about building 4-3s, and people were like, "What do you mean 4-3s?" So in League of Legends, you build 4 from one guy or from one team and 3 from the other, and it was a joke based off of that. But like that was essentially what that was, and there were plenty of people that had built that or something similar. So, in retrospect, it was really sharp, and I wish I had done it.
Yeah, me too. All right, let me ask you about a couple other games here. Buffalo and the Steelers. We know Buffalo is going to win this game. I don't even think there's a question about that. Do you find that there's not enough offense back from the Steelers to make this game worthy, or do we run like a naked Josh Allen? How are you looking at this game?
Yeah, so I think the biggest question that I had, and it's kind of been answered, is what kind of attention was going to be on the receiving core for the Steelers? Which one of these guys was going to get the, lion's share of the ownership attention? I thought that what we saw last week with Deontay Johnson getting less targets as Pickett came in might be something that people picked up on, and people might have picked up on the fact that Pickett liked throwing it to Pickens, and people might look at how cheap he was. And I had this feeling that he was going to be, I don't want to say uber chalk, but highly owned. And that's just not the case. I was prepared to come here and tell you, hey, let's go to Deontay Johnson. Let's go with what we know. And I don't want to buy into that chalk, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. I think you can't go wrong playing either one of those guys by themselves or as a run back in one of the stacks. Deontay Johnson's still too cheap, and George Pickens is just really, really cheap.
So the Bettor boss says the Bills' offense is missing a lot of weapons. Are we just assuming they'll roll? I kind of love Shakir at 3,200. I think he's sneaky. Tommy Sweeney's at 2,600. Or are you just going to roll with Diggs and Gabe Davis and do a double stack there?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get too sneaky there. I think that Diggs is the primary guy, but I like Singletary a fair amount too. Has really large boom potential, I guess is the way that you can say. He has big busts too, but like if we're playing GPPs, that's what we're looking for. I wouldn't go near him in cash. That's like, Stephon Diggs and only Stephon Diggs, but Singletary is a guy that I'm considering, especially with a lot of these other running backs around that price coming in with a lot more ownership, a lot more attention. Pivoting, sometimes the way that you build your lineup is important, but sometimes you can build your lineup the exact same and have that pivot at the same price point. I think Singletary has just as much upside as some of those other 5,500, your Jeff Wilsons, your Dameon Pierce, those type of guys.
All right. Tom Brady has struggled. We could argue that he struggled. Last week, it actually looked better. But this feels like a get-well week. There's no Kyle Pitts. There's no Patterson. But does that matter with Brady when he just wants to throw up 35 points because he can? And if you agree with that, are you looking at, going with the Bucs?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to figure out a bunch of different ways that I could say, hey, I don't want to play Tom Brady this week. He's going to come in, 15% ownership or maybe higher in main GPPs. And quite frankly, that's pretty high for a quarterback, specifically one that can't run. However, we look back at last year when him and Stafford were just continually at the top of GPP winning lineups. And I just don't see how, there's always a way that he can not be successful, but it's just, there are very limited ways within this game. I don't think that you can expect a Tampa Bay offense to run the ball a ton. They're going to throw it 30, 35, 40 times. He's going to be efficient. He's got his weapons back. And I think that was a struggle earlier in the season against better pass defenses, which Atlanta is not. They have some good pieces, but they've given up a ton of points to way worse offenses. Tampa Bay's at home, a 10-point favorite. I think that spread might be a little bit high, but I do like the Tampa offense, and I'd be pairing him with Mike Evans almost every single time.
It's funny. I'd be pairing him with Chris Godwin every single time.
You and everybody else. Godwin is coming in as the highest owned wide receiver, so maybe that sways it for you.
I got a guy for you this week, though.
Okay.
Cade Otton.
Yeah, I don't know even. I didn't know who that was, but I saw he's popping up in the ownership projections.
He's about a 6'5" tight end out of the University of Washington, probably about 250 pounds. He's a big dude, and he can ball. He's got skills.
He sounds like a guy that went to Washington. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like there is just so much depth in the tight end position this week that I don't know if you need to go all the way down to 2,500 because I think that's what he's priced at, right? So him and Tyler Higbee are just commanding the ownership. And Higbee, that was easy to point out earlier in the week. It was like, this guy's getting double-digit targets. He's 4,300, and he's coming in over 20% ownership. I might even argue that I just might lock him in at like 50 or 60% of my lineups because that's that good. But you've got other guys. You've got Njoku. You've got Goddard that you mentioned earlier. You've got Hawkinson, Ertz. There's just a lot of guys that are in between that like 38 to 45, not breaking the bank, that make a lot of sense. And we don't have the Travis Kelce's. We don't have the Mark Andrews that we can pay up for. We don't even have the Kyle Pitts or the Dawson Knoxes. So I think tight ends in one of the better, more interesting weeks that we've seen it in quite some time.
I am going to be fading TJ Hawkinson. I'm telling you that. And I'm fading Freiermuth. The Bills let up, Mark Andrews went 2 for 15. And Hawkinson, you know that Bill Belichick likes to take away the one thing you want to do. And the one thing they want to do is throw to Hawkinson. So I might be fading both those guys, Chris.
Doc, you know how I hate that narrative. That's what all defensive coordinators want to do. Just, are they going to be able to do it? Is Amon-Ra St. Brown going to be back? Are they going
to
take
if Amon-Ra St. Brown, do not play Hawkinson.
So
just trust me. All right. What about the Jaguars and Texans? Everything in my being says this should be a week that the Jaguars run amok. Are you in on James Robinson? Are you willing to pivot on ETN? What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I've been playing Brandon Cooks every single week. And in fact, somehow I found myself playing a Davis Mills stack every single week in high stakes. And it's like the last lineup I put together and I don't know. And I have some indecision. I'm like, I'll just put Davis Mills in. And I regret it every single time. The guy's like 15 for 16, but he's got 60 yards and it doesn't even make sense to me. Usually it all is to Brandon Cooks. So those are two pieces that I'm still interested in. Dameon Pierce, I have slight interest. But realistically, I think it's James Robinson and maybe one of the pass catchers or a couple of the pass catchers and Trevor Lawrence going with a stack in this game. I don't think is that crazy in like a Millie Maker or a $3 contest. I will tell you one thing. I was heavy on ETN last week and never again. Never again. I'm done. He's dead to me.
Now, speaking of a guy who's dead to you, I know you hate Justin Fields. Hate him.
I don't hate him. I just don't think he's very good.
He's not. I want to play the Vikings. I do. I want to play the Vikings. But I find that if Fields is going to go like 9 for 13 for 103 yards, how can I get the Vikings in if there's just not going to be enough coming back from the Bears? Is that the right way of thinking or not?
I think so, but this is a divisional matchup, and I think you have to treat those a little bit differently. We saw some sparks from Fields. We saw some sparks from that offense, or maybe a spark. I don't expect much from them, but I'm really digging Dalvin Cook. And, at his price, my concern is how much do they run him? But like one of these days, he's got to get 100 yards, right? And he's got to maybe score a touchdown that same day. Does Madison steal some of that work? Probably, maybe. But at his price and where everybody else seems to be going in the running back position, I think you can get some really unique lineups with Dalvin Cook because I just don't think he's getting the attention. You just look at his game logs and you don't want to give him attention, but that this guy has that absolute 2-touchdown, 150-yard ceiling. So I think I'm going to roll with him in a couple lineups and hope that this is the week.
We just talked about him on Friday Night Lights. Willie, Odell, and myself, we all like Cook. Let me ask you this. Talk me out of these two players. First, talk me out of Jeff Wilson, because I don't know how I'm not playing him on FanDuel.
Look, it's Jeff Wilson. I mean, I think we saw one of the better games that we're going to get from Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson's one of those guys that I just absolutely hate playing when he's chalk, and it happens too often because oftentimes when you're playing Jeff Wilson, he's priced between 5,000 to 6,000 on DraftKings. There's no other running back, and that's the only reason that you're considering Jeff Wilson. But this Carolina team, I think that they're better, at least defensively, than people give them credit for. You look at the box scores, you don't see them a lot on red zone. So you just have this assumption that they're bad, and their offense is, but their defense is pretty good. And, I don't know if Wilson's going to be the guy that's going to get enough of those yards. He's going to be kind of chalky, and that's enough to get me to move off of him. There's a couple other guys around that price point. Even including like, hey, Tony Pollard missed practice today because he's sick. Is he going to play on Sunday? Are you interested in playing a 5,800 Ezekiel Elliott? I don't know. That piqued my interest at least.
All right, I got one more guy for you. Talk me out of Alvin Kamara.
I like it. I like that game a lot, actually. I think people are sleeping on that. Seattle's defense is bad. I mean, Detroit's defense is bad. Seattle's defense is bad, and they had a great game. New Orleans defense is, it's much better, but I think that this is a game that they're going to control. It's in a dome. I like Kamara with Michael Thomas, I think, missing the game, or maybe he's questionable, but they're banged up. I like Olave, but he's like 20% owned. He's one of the highest owned wide receivers. Why not pivot to Alvin Kamara?
All right, I'm going to give you a crisp $100 bill, or in your case, a crisp $1,000 bill because you're a high roller. Give me the stack. Give me the game. What are you all in on?
The stack, the game. I'm going to go one off the radar here. I do have some concerns because they're traveling second week in a row. But let's go with Justin Herbert. Let's go with Palmer. We missed on him. Maybe we're going to get some flop lag this week. He didn't have a lot of targets. Throw in a little Mike Williams and bring it back with Amari Cooper, maybe even a little Njoku, and you got yourself just a big giant game stack. It's a 47 total. It's not high, but it's high for this week.
That game exploded last year, right? Didn't they go for like 89 points or something like that?
I feel like you're right. I wasn't even taking that into account, but it very well could. I mean, look, there are concerns. Chargers are banged up. They're on the road on the East Coast, second time in a row. Myles Garrett, so there are some challenges there, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be looking at that game. There are some more juicier games on the slate that are going to draw people's attention.
All right, before we let you go, give me the Chris Emmerich. Crack the code with Emmerich tonight. Who's the guy?
Who's the guy? Man, I didn't look. You're putting me on the spot here. I had no idea that I was going to have to do that. I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook, and if you want a wide receiver, let's go with Mike Williams.
Love it. Love it. Chris Emmerich, good luck this week, and I'll catch you Sunday morning on our Discord.
Sounds good. See you then.
All right, you got it. That's Chris Emmerich, outstanding DFS player, one of the top GPP guys I know. And Jalen said that Cook has a great opportunity to have a game versus Chicago. Better Boss says Jalen had Cook first. All right, Jalen, I'm giving you credit. If Cook goes off, we will give you credit on Tuesday. We'll take a little break. We're back right after
this. Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
Surely. Kickers never retire, I think. They just continue playing for all eternity. Like, there's only ever been 30 NFL kickers.
Yeah. They're always readily available, too, it seems. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just get called up. They're like, you kicked for us 10 years ago, right? Why don't you
run it back? Let's run
I imagine
Graham
every
Gano.
single kicker that gets the call is on a high school football field somewhere just practicing field goals after hours. Like it's like 9 p.m. and they're out there just at the local high school kicking field goals, and the phone rings. They get a call and they're like, yeah, I'm ready. I've been practicing for this.
I have an amazing kicker story if you guys have a second.
I got a couple.
The number one all-time field goal kicker is Adam Vinatieri. The next two guys are Morton and Gary Anderson, right? Gary Anderson was a dude from like South Africa that just played rugby and soccer. He just could absolutely boot the ball, right? They bring him over and he does like a tryout and he's just absolutely crushing the ball. And are like, dude, we want you to come kick field goals for us. And he goes, I don't even want to play football. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, so if I can come to your school and play soccer, I'll also, in the fall, I'll kick for the football team. And Syracuse was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're on the soccer team. Like, come on. And he went to Syracuse to play soccer, but also kick field goals. And then he ended up being a top 3-point scorer in the NFL all the time.
That's ridiculous.
And his answer to recruiters was, I don't want to play football. I'll do it in my spare time.
Yeah. He's like, you got a spot for me in the soccer team. Syracuse is like, yeah, we got a spot for you.
We don't even care about our soccer team.
We don't even care.
We totally have that spot.
Right? They had to like cobble together a soccer team. Like, this guy's the captain.
Oh my God. It's like Accepted, the movie, but they just like had to throw together a whole fake soccer team.
Somehow they still got Justin Long.
Right, yeah. Like Adam Sandler's the coach. And dude, it's imagine they win the national championship. That's a movie, dog. Yeah.
Boom!
Someone call up Disney. Yeah, we just wrote a movie for you, Disney. This has Disney sports movie written all over. I'm borderline crying right here just thinking about this movie right now.
Dude, the story gets even crazier. Like I should have looked it up again, but like it was like a high school coach that went and found him, and then that high school coach ended up being somebody crazy famous that like coached for the Rams.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network. On call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we are back. Welcome back to our show here on the Bettor Sports Network. I'm Dr. Roto. It's On Call with Dr. Roto. And loved having Chris Emmerich on. He is a really smart guy. All right, Bears and Vikings. We talked about that. I want to get to the Lions and Patriots. So I'm going to throw out some ideas here for this game. First of all, Amon-Ra St. Brown could play. If Amon-Ra St. Brown plays, I don't like TJ Hockenson. Even if Amon-Ra St. Brown plays, or doesn't play, I don't like TJ Hockenson. I believe that Belichick will stop TJ Hockenson, especially if St. Brown's not on the field. So Asan asks, wait, I get disconnected. Did you talk about Hunter Renfrow or Josh Reynolds? I'll talk about it right now. I like Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is the glue. Josh Reynolds is a guy. So for the Lions, I don't know whether they have a big week. Jamal Williams is fine. DJ Chark is fine. Josh Reynolds is fine. But they exploded last week. Patriots are not going to let them explode, and I'm going to tell you why. Bailey Zapp is fine. He's okay. He's a good young quarterback. But they're going to run the ball. It's going to be Stevenson and Harris, Stevenson and Harris, Stevenson and Harris. And if you want to get a little crazy in DFS, you want to go a little wild, you want to go on the edge, start them both. Because what if I told you they're going to have 162 touchdowns between them? Now, the problem is why you wouldn't want to do that, maybe only on FanDuel. Because if you start at Dalvin Cook and you start, let's say, Alvin Kamara, you're hoping for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns from both of them. That way you'd have 240 yards and 4 touchdowns versus 160 yards and 2. But the problem is I like Stevenson, I like Harris, and I think they both can score. I like Jacoby Myers a little bit. After that, don't really like this game. Maybe Hunter Henry. Could Hunter Henry score? Yes, he could. Will Dissly did well last week. So, I mean, I'm okay with you thinking Hunter Henry could score. I have no problem with that play. By the way, I'm going to give you a player in the Bears-Vikings game. Nobody's talking about Cole Comet. Let me be the first guy to talk about it. I think he had some ungodly number on Prize Picks, like 21 receiving yards. Give me the over. Because if he doesn't get 21 yards against the Vikings, then we really have to cut this dude. But he's got to get 21 yards, right? Jalen asked Renfrow or Boyd in full point PPR. Listen, Hunter Renfrow is a player. He is great. Derek Carr has missed him. Teams can basically double team Adams. Why do you think Hollins has done so well? But if you have Hollins, okay, and you have Adams, and you got Renfrow, I think Renfrow hurts Darren Waller. But truth be told, I'd rather have Renfrow than Waller. Renfrow's always open. And Carr loves throwing to him. So I'm all about that. I'm all about Renfrow this week. All right, Seahawks and Saints. I'll tell you guys I like in seasonal, I like Olave. In DFS, not so much, but in seasonal, I like Olave. I love Alvin Kamara this week. Love Alvin Kamara this week. This is a Kamara week written all over it. I like Juwan Johnson a little bit. It's a name that we haven't heard from in a while. I like Juwan Johnson just a little bit. Seahawks are terrible against tight ends. We saw it last week. Juwan Johnson's a big dude. They just have to go to him more. Just have to use him a little bit more. If Michael Thomas is not there, Juwan Johnson could easily score a touchdown. And you might get some nice odds on that too. Feels like a plus 450 to me. For the Seahawks, I don't know. I feel like we're overvaluing the Seahawks. I know Geno Smith was good last week. Is he going to be good back-to-back weeks? Saints are good defense. Saints get to the passer. If Rashad Penny doesn't play, I worry about that team. It'll be a Kenneth Walker week. So we'll have to see. Do I like Metcalf? It's all right. Do I like Disley? I feel like I'm chasing points. I don't like chasing points. Ishan says Rashad is healthy. Good. All right. That helps. Penny being healthy helps. Always does. He was questionable with an injury. I mean, but look, with Penny, you just don't know until you see it. The dude could wake up Sunday morning and go, oh, my shoulder. I'm out. That's Penny. He could hurt himself walking to the bathroom on Saturday night in the Holiday Inn. He could trip on some bed bug there, and all of a sudden, that dude's not playing with a bad high ankle sprain. You know how it goes with him, right? Come on. All right. The Dolphins and the Jets. My man, Trevor Hillstrom, who is one of the hardest working men in this industry and one of the great fantasy minds, is all in on Zach Wilson. Jason Braddock has been all in on Zach Wilson. Greg Cosell from fantasypoints.com has been in on Zach Wilson. I am somewhat in on Zach Wilson. Somewhat. He is that guy who every now and then it looks really good. And then he has a couple of plays that are head scratchers. So it's like one amazing play, one crappy play, and one good play. It's a 2/3 kind of guy. I don't want 2/3. I need 80%. I need 1 out of every 5 to suck. Not 1 of every 3. I like his connection with Elijah Moore. Breece Hall, Roto looks much better. But I think this could be a Michael Carter week. Just throwing that out there. But what we need from Wilson and what the Jets need from Wilson, can he integrate Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin and Elijah Moore and Carter and Hall and get them all together? The great quarterbacks can. Wilson, it may be too early for him. For the Dolphins, I do not like Teddy B, but I like Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill has the nuts matchup against Michael Carter, slot cornerback Michael Carter, who's just not very good. And I think Teddy B can throw that 10-yard pass to Tyreek Hill, who could go another 60. I'm okay with Waddle. I'm okay with Gesicki. I really think I like Raheem Mostert. This feels like a Raheem Mostert week to me. It does. Remember, these two coaches know each other well. But the Dolphins have always talked about being a running team, but we haven't seen it yet. I think this is the week we see it. I think Mostert is a really smart play in FanDuel. I like Edmonds. I don't love him. He has been good by the goal line, but this feels like a Mostert week. So I like Mostert. I like Tyreek Hill for sure. And then with the Jets, there's nobody really standing out to me. A bunch of guys I like, but nobody I love. So could it be Elijah Moore? Sure. Could it be Garrett Wilson? Sure. Could it be Breece Hall? Sure. I have a sneaking feeling it could be Michael Carter, but I don't feel strongly about it. I wouldn't go wake up and start cutting somebody to pick up Michael Carter. You know, I'm having a vision, but I don't think Michael Carter is a visionary play. I think he's okay. But I do like Hill, and Hill has a premier matchup this week. Premier. All right, let's talk about the Falcons and Bucks. It's Tom Brady week. It's Tom Brady week. Tom Brady week. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, Asan asks, Hunt or White? I told you I like Kareem Hunt this week. I do like Rashad White. but he's not better than Leonard Fournette this week. Now, if you told me that Fournette wasn't playing, we could have a different conversation, but I like Hunt. Let me just throw this out to you, okay? Tom Brady throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm not good at math, but I can tell you that's 27 points. Now, let me blow your mind for a second. What if Justin Fields threw for 200 yards? What if Justin Fields had 1 touchdown pass? That's what? 14 points? Let's say Justin Fields ran for 60 yards and a touchdown. Do you know that Justin Fields, if he gave you that line, would have almost as many points as Tom Brady if Tom Brady went 303? It's because mobile quarterbacks are separators. Tom Brady and Kirk Cousins have to give you 303, and all these other guys have to get you 201 and about 60 yards rushing. That's what makes Lamar Jackson so dangerous and Jalen Hurts so dangerous. And that's why people probably would in your league have either Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. So I think that Godwin does score. I think that Evans could score. I like this kid, Cade Otton. But the problem with the Falcons is I like Tyler Algier. But, man, they were afraid to throw the ball last week against the Browns at home. Marcus Mariota barely threw the ball. Zacchaeus, Kadarius Hodge, it's just ugly. So this feels like a Brady get right week. A Brady let me put on the points week. But I do like Tyler Algier, and I believe he has a chance to really solidify his role in this offense. He's got some skills. The metrics are good. I like the player. Keep your eyeballs out. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up. I am going to be breaking down a very, very sneaky game. A game that nobody's thinking about for DFS except me. Am I a genius or am I an idiot? Don't answer that. I'll back to this.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I think it's hard to judge Daniel Jones. He's got no offensive line and he's got no weapons. So, he still made a couple of bad decisions this year, but it's really hard to judge him. And that's the difficult part for the Giants. They have to figure out if he's the guy. How can you make that assessment with who can't catch anything?
Jones in a shotgun set. Back to throw. Has time. Fastball to the right side. Golladay makes the catch, but then he fell down and he never controlled it. It's incomplete. He tried to run away from the defender and he dropped it.
Richie James, look at this. It is bad. They really need Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney out there. And even then, it's still not enough. And I believe Daniel Jones is the most pressured quarterback in football. And it's going to be hard for him to have success.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
What can we say about 5 more passes batted at the line by Baker Mayfield? That's 12 for the season. I've never seen anything like this. Last year's leader had 17 for the entire season. Mayfield's on pace for 51, and the Panthers barely throw.
Thank you. They barely throw. They don't make no explosive plays. They can't do nothing offensively. But when you look at this team, they ran 51 plays yesterday. They had 220 total yards. They ran the ball for 40 yards. They threw the ball for 180. On the throws, it was under 5 yards a pass. They are using their short passing game as a running game, but it ain't going nowhere. There's no explosive plays from anybody. Baker Mayfield's a dog. And that was just a terrible display of football. There was a reason to boo. There's a reason to be calling for Rule's job. There's a reason to want everybody out in Carolina because that thing is pitiful.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
We are hearing reports, Ray, that people felt this was so unfair and so dastardly that people are changing rules and allowing folks to remove Kamara from their starting lineup. You cannot break this rule. This is lousy, Ray, and I hate the precedent that some people are setting with this.
Later on, the commissioner said, oh, yeah, sorry, you didn't get up at 6 a.m. today. We'll allow you to make a switch. Sorry. If you're mad at something here, you don't get mad at your league, you don't get mad at the rules, you don't get mad at your commissioner, you get mad at the bloody NFL. who I have said all along, what are we doing here? Why are we trying to take over the world?
It's just bad luck, Ray. This happens a lot, doesn't it? It just doesn't happen with the likes of Alvin Kamara. You got to be awake when the actives and inactives come out.
But again, it's if you want to lay blame, it's the NFL. Why is the NFL playing games that the majority of the people in the United States aren't even awake for? What are they doing? Isn't it our league, North America's league, or is it Europe's league? So if you're mad at someone, you're mad at the NFL.
On Call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we are back. Welcome to hour number 2 of On Call with Dr. Roto. I think Ray brings up a good point, by the way. I know that why we're doing it, it's called money. But is that really the product? Do we really want to have games starting at 9:30 to chase the money? But the NFL is a global game, and we should allow everybody to see it. But our own fans aren't seeing it because they're sleeping, or they're in church. Come on. All right, I do have a bone to pick before I get to this game. And I can't speak for any other analyst out there, but I'm going to speak for myself and just tell you my thoughts. Now, I love helping people with their teams. You know that. Been doing this for a very long time. I love helping people. But I hate when people send me their roster on Twitter and say, who would you change? And what would you pick up? It's your team. Now, if you want to say, Dr. Roto, should I play Kareem Hunt or Rashad White? I'm more than happy to answer that. I'll answer that all the time. If you're like, do you like this trade? That's fine. But don't send me your team and expect me to look at it, go through it, and then help you out like that. Make it easy on us. I'm happy to help and give a question, but give me player A and player B. Who do you want? I'm not here to do your work for you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to advise you. But it's your team at the end. Because if I pick up the wrong guy and you lose, Dr. Roto, you picked up the wrong guy. Dude, it's your team. It's always your team. I've got 25 teams of my own. I'm happy to help. Hey, Doc, who would you do? You're welcome, Mason. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to help, but don't send me your roster and make me go through it and then figure it out. You go through your roster and you have questions, I'm happy to answer. That makes our jobs easier. As we like to say, help me, help you. All right. I'm going to give you a sneaky under the radar game, and heavy T, you're a little wrong here. I know that it feels like it's a Texans one, but that's my next game. But this game right here could be my sneaky game of the week. And the only reason it's a sneaky game of the week is that I mentioned this in our Friday Night Lights video. The Titans are a very interesting fantasy team to roster in DFS. Here's why. They have very few good players. Tannehill, Henry, Woods. There you go. There's no Treylon Burks anymore. There's 3 guys. If you just play those 3, it's much like the Colts with Ryan, Taylor, and Pittman. All of a sudden, you put those 3 together, you're onto something. So what if Ryan Tannehill goes for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns? Let's say he just does that. Let's say Derrick Henry gets for 100 yards and a touch. And let's say that Robert Woods has 100 yards and a touch. I'm not good at that math, but I'm looking at about 20 points from Woods. I'm looking at about 16 from Henry. So now that's 36. And now I'm getting probably another 20 there. I could probably get close to 60 points from those 3 guys. If I bring it back with one guy like Terry McLaurin, who I kind of like, and McLaurin goes for 100 and a touch, I'm getting a concentrated number of points from 4 guys. What if I could put 80 points away from those 4 guys? And then, because I know that some of those guys are going to be cheap, Tannehill's going to be cheap, Woods is going to be cheap, Henry's expensive, McLaurin isn't, mid. I can then build around that because I know here's the problem. Let me use Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. But there's Singletary and there's Gabe Davis and there's Stephon Diggs. Maybe there's Shakir. There's like 20 guys there. I can't say that in Tennessee. There's literally 2 guys. It's why the Vikings are always a good fantasy team to play in DFS. Cousins, Cook, Jefferson, Thielen. KJ Osborne? No. Irv Smith can't catch. Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen, Cook. 4 guys. Keep it tight. So, if we think that Derrick Henry could score a touchdown, can Terry McLaurin score a touchdown? I think so. Can Robert Woods score a touchdown? I think so. The only problem in this game is I don't think Tannehill goes for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But if he goes 240 and 2, I got myself 20 points. Now, what if he goes 240 and 1 and runs a touchdown in? Now I'm at 16, 22, maybe 23, 24 points. I do that, I might actually have a pretty decent shot. Right? So if he gets me that rushing touchdown, Tannehill, which he can, Henry gets his 100 yards and a touchdown. Now I'm at about 40. Woods gets me about 16 to 18, right? I'm about 58. And then McLaurin, I'm closer to 80. Close to 80. It's not a bad way to start. It's not ideal, but it might get you in the money. And nobody's playing that team. Okay. By the way, so let's talk about the mess known as the Commanders. I like McLaurin this week. I like Curtis Samuel this week. Jahan Dotson's out. I don't love Logan Thomas. Henry Woods, that's it. And Tannehill. Texans Jaguars. Let's talk about the Texans Jaguars. I worry about Dameon Pierce this week. I feel like I'm chasing last week's success. That said, I like him, but if they're losing, you could see more Rex Burkhead than you want to see. I do like Brandon Cooks a lot, and I think there's a shot that Nico Collins could do something because you could throw on the Jaguars. You can't really run very well against them. So I'm willing to look at Cooks. I'm willing to look at Nico for the Jaguars. I'm just going to throw it out there for you. Love James Robinson. James Robinson is chalk, but it's good chalk. Nothing wrong with that chalk. It's chalky chalk. I kind of have a soft spot for Travis Etienne. And I know that Chris just buried him and said, I'm never playing him again. I don't feel that way about players. I don't feel that way. I've learned in this industry, in this career, to have a very short memory. Etienne could get me one carry for 5 yards one week, but if he has the right matchup next week, I'm going to play him. I'm going to play him. And I look at Etienne and I say, he's got a lot of speed. Could he not break a play against this Texans defense? And I look at it and I say that Etienne is like Eckler, not just Eckler light, Eckler very light. But Eckler was dominant last week. What if Etienne could get me 50 yards rushing, 50 yards receiving, and get me 5 receptions? Could I not get myself to 15 points there? I think I can. So I'm not against playing him at all this week. I think there's a pathway to his success. I do like Christian Kirk. I do like Zay Jones. More importantly, Trevor Lawrence likes Zay Jones. I think that was one of the reasons why the Jaguars struggled last week, was that Zay Jones was not there. Trevor Lawrence has an affinity for Zay Jones. But when Zay Jones wasn't on the field, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I like Trevor Lawrence this week. I don't love him. I like it. I mean, I think people are, so Zay Jones or Josh Reynolds. I think it's Zay Jones. I do. I think it's Zay Jones. However, if St. Brown is out, I'll go Reynolds. But if St. Brown plays in this game, I'm playing Reynolds. Also, remember, Reynolds' success last week was predicated on the fact that DJ Chark didn't play and Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't play. So, I mean, that's like a perfect storm of Josh Reynolds. Okay, 49ers and Panthers. I'm just going to say this. There's always one game on the schedule that is the suicide sucker selection, the SSS, the suicide sucker selection. There's that game. You go down and you look at it and you're like, oh, didn't I watch the 49ers beat the Rams? Don't the Panthers suck? This seems to be the easy one. I'll pick the 49ers. That's got to be the right pick for my suicide pool. No. What have I always told you? Just when you think you know the NFL, you must understand you know nothing. I'm not calling the Panthers victory, but I'm calling the Panthers playing well. I'm calling the Panthers with a real good shot to win. I'm calling the Panthers that if the 49ers win, it's going to be on a field goal at the end of the game. I feel it. Why? We've all buried the Panthers. And rightfully so. Matt Rule stinks. But I always want to fall back on human nature. The 49ers had an emotional game against the Super Bowl champions and beat the crap out of them on Monday night. Now you got to go to Carolina and you got to gear up to play the Panthers? Yeah. You think you're practicing that hard? You think you're giving me 100%? Or are you letting down just a little bit? I think you're letting down just a little bit. So I'm just saying to you, you want to do a little Panthers on the money line? I like it. I like it. It's a little cray-cray. Sometimes you got to be a little cray-cray to be my rich friend. Chark is better than Reynolds, Eshawn. Asan, he's better. Chark is better. And Chark is healthier. So I'm going to play him. All right, taking a break. When we come back, the Cowboys and Rams, Eagles and Cardinals, right after this.
Darren Ravel's here, our very first guest ever. The Action Network. Darren, thanks so much for doing this, man.
Of course, anytime I could be the first guest on anything, not to downgrade you, but yeah, no, this is great.
Darren, if I can go back to this Mickey Mantle thing real quick, this $12.6 million, do you think that would have been like 20 if this happened like 6 months ago?
This makes sense. I mean, you have such a beautiful card. The story about they couldn't things because it was it was the high numbers. You know the whole story on the mantle. Like basically it was the high numbers, so it was the second set of cards that came out. Kids had already moved on, and then like by 53, they're like, wait, that's the old ones. That's 52, and they couldn't really sell any of them, so they dumped them off the barge. And, so you had a scarcer versions of the 52 cards. Listen, I think crypto had people spending a ton of money, obviously. And so I think there's probably a little bit of a downturn. But I think where you see most of the downturn is things that don't make sense. And, to me, I just think, yes, there's still things that I'm just absolutely shocked about. But even in memorabilia, even by looking at Heritage last night, man, I think I had $59,000 in bids that all lost. It seems pretty healthy out there in the collectibles market.
Tell us about this Hugh Hefner Viagra pill container. You know what I'm saying? I've heard the stories about it. How did is it prescribed? Did you go to was it that CBS filled it? Like what? Like how did you come across that? That's a cool piece.
Yeah, listen, people think it's funny, but like it is what it is. I just saw it. There was a estate sale from his ex-wife Julian's Auctions, and his pill bottle was up there, and it said it was worth $1,000, and I was like, I don't think it's worth $1,000. I mean, it's the greatest party trick of all time to show it is his real pill bottle from the pharmacy. Hefner, Hugh, take 1 pill prior to sex, 2 if needed. It's great. No pills inside, but I did spend $8K on it. And the way people, I wish you would have told me you were going to tell. I would have brought it here with me. But it's in a vault, and when I know that I need to pull some trick at a party or something, I might bring it out. But it's a good item. You need one-of-one stuff. I think that in this world, I think it's worth it to protect yourself in getting one-of-one stuff. It doesn't have the same liquidity because you can't say, oh, that sold yesterday for this. But I have comfort in that.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we are back. Cowboys playing the Rams. Doesn't it shock you that the Cowboys are 3-1 and the Rams are 2-2? Does it shock you that the Rams are just not playing very well this year? Does it shock you that Allen Robinson, Better Boss's guy, is just mid? I mean, Matthew Stafford must get 87 questions a week, and 86 of them are right. Why haven't you thrown the ball to Allen Robinson? And rightfully so. Now, the question is, has Robinson lost a step? Maybe. Is he getting separation? I think so. Does he have the burst that he had back when he was in Jacksonville? I think so. Maybe he's a little slower, but he's open. But it's like Cooper, Higbee, Cooper, Higbee. Oh, hi, Alan. I mean, come on. It's crazy. So this week, who do I like? Oh, shocking. I like Cooper Kupp. I mean, I'll be okay with Robinson, but I don't see more than 5 for 50. I'm not seeing more than that. I do like Higbee. Dallas, though, has a really good pass rush. Matt Stafford will not have a lot of time. He won't have a lot of time. That's an issue. It may mean that Higbee has to stay in and block a little bit more, too. I have to see. For the Cowboys, look, I like CD Lamb. I always like CD Lamb. Noah Brown has been pretty decent. He's been pretty decent. Surprisingly good. I don't really like Dalton Schultz a lot this week. I don't know if I love Zeke. I know Pollard showed up in the injury report, so let's watch that carefully. I mean, I think he's okay, but I'm not loving him this week. But I don't like Zeke either. I just feel like it's going to be a rough game. I think Cooper Rush has done a very credible job. But this might be asking too much to go to LA on the road and get it done. All right, the Eagles and Cardinals. Let's talk about the Eagles and Cardinals, especially DFS-wise. Look, I want to talk to you about what I said with Chris. Most people this week will go Hurts, A.J. Brown, second player, stack, whether it's Goddard or Sanders or Smith. They will most likely come back with Hurts. That is the cash game play. Is it a bad play? No, it is not a bad play. But I always feel in GPP. So I want to give a shout out to my friend Jaguar Lou, who won $1 million last night on the Thursday Showdown on DraftKings. If I remember correctly, Lou had Alec Pearson as captain. He had Cortland Sutton. He had both kickers and both defenses. Pretty contrarian lineup, right? If 30% of people have Hurts, Brown, Goddard come back with Ertz, you can't follow that. Yes, it's not. He won $1 million. Jaguar Lou won $1 million. Good for him, right? The thought being, I need to separate myself and be part of the 70%, not the 30%. So what does that mean? James Conner is more interesting to me. Hollywood Brown is more interesting to me. Rondale Moore is more interesting to me. I would most likely go with Connor than I would anybody else. Do I like Zach Ertz? Of course I like Zach Ertz. Is it a revenge narrative? Of course it's a revenge narrative. You know I enjoy that. But I feel like maybe Devonta Smith is a way to get different, get a little weird. But you can't be predictable. You could be predictable in cash, but not in a GPP. But I like Jalen Hurts. I love Brown. But as I said to Chris Emmerich, and I'll say it again, and I want you guys to hear me, one of the great tips out there has always been to use the reverse quarterback theory. The reverse quarterback theory is to go to the game, high-scoring game, and find the opposite quarterback. Because if that game gets into the 60s, then Murray has a game. If we think Hurts is going to do well, and we think the Eagles are going to drop 30, if the Cardinals are going to keep it close, they're going to have to drop 27. If they drop 27, then Kyler Murray becomes a good play and low owned. So let me just give you a for instance. Murray, Brown, Hollywood Brown, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Who's going to have that lineup? Nobody. Here's the thing you got to know about GPP. I worked one year. Well, I worked a couple of years with Tommy G. But one year I remember that we did radio together. Tommy lost I want to say 14 weeks. And then weeks 15 and 16, he exploded and won 6 figures. Boom. When you're a GPP player, you lose. But when you win enough to cover everything. And that's the mindset that you have to think about. Is that you have to be willing to lose in order to win big. Is playing Hurts the smart move? Yes. Is it probably going to win me $1 million? No. I believe playing Murray could win me $1 million, but I could also not cash it all. So is it better to make $50 or is it better to try to make 0 or $1 million? That's a decision that you have to make. That's a decision that you have to think about. I know from my end that if I have 3 teams this week, I will have one with Hurts and one with Murray and most likely one with Brady. I will fade Josh Allen. I might regret fading Josh Allen, but I will. But I will have a Hurts lineup because I'm not crazy. I will have a Brady lineup because I love him. And I will throw in as my third lineup because I do 3 entries. And I will have a Murray lineup. And I'll put that Murray lineup in the Millionaire Maker. I'll put that Murray lineup when there's a lot of teams. I will not put that Murray lineup in when it's a single entry, high, $200 single entry. No, thank you. I don't like lighting money on fire. Money's hard to come by. I don't want to light it up. But I think that's what I want to do. So if it's a large field, you got to get a little weird. If it's a single entry, then you could play it closer to the vest. And if it's a high stakes, low entry single entry, that's how we have to treat it. If we do that, we will be successful. And that's all I want from us. I want us to be successful. I want us to win big time. All right, couple more games. Let's see if I can get one more in here. The Bengals and Ravens. Oh, I do not think Rashad Bateman is playing. I do not. I like Devin Duvernay. I like Mark Andrews a lot, both of them. I like J.K. Dobbins. I love Lamar Jackson this week. Love, L-O-V-E, Lamar. Love Lamar. I guess I'm okay with Joe Mixon. Don't love him. Like Jamar Chase a lot. Like T. Higgins a lot. Ravens defense has been very putrid. So I think both those guys do well. I think Joe Burrow does well. Yeah, Jalen says Bateman's out for sure. He's out for sure. Devin Duvernay, bring him up a little bit. Tylan Wallace, bring him up a smidge. I like Duvernay. He's pretty good. He's very good at Texas. Keep your eyeballs on him. Everybody will be thinking Andrews, rightfully so. I'll be thinking Duvernay, and I like it. All right, when we come back, I'm very excited for my next guest. Very excited. His name is Randall Knack. He works at OddsJam. If you don't know OddsJam, you're going to know OddsJam because it's a really tremendous site that's just thinking at another level. And I need you guys to be thinking at another level. We'll talk to Randall when we return right after this.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
We got to get a team in Honolulu. Like, what about that, Ray? You think Oakland? Like, nobody's talking about Honolulu for the Oakland A's to move to. How badass would that be to have a Major League Baseball team? Instead, they want to go to like where it's 120 degrees in the desert of Vegas.
Right.
Ray, they should pick up and go to Honolulu. That would be epic right there for the A's.
They could go to Honolulu, and instead of playing throughout the course of the year, you just play a 12-game set. Just get it done.
What's the flight from the Bay Area? 4 hours?
It's depending which direction you're going, it's 5.5.
Okay, that's not terrible. You'd have to manage the schedule a bit.
Right.
But it's doable. Like, you play your West Coast games and then maybe you give an extra day. Like you play in San Francisco through Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then you have your Monday off. Everybody gets their Monday off and then they play, out in Hawaii for 4 games. And they come back for the weekend.
It's very similar time-wise for us in California, in the Bay Area, to go to Hawaii as it is to go to New York. It's very similar. So yeah, like you're saying, Giants do that to go to the Mets. The A's do that to go to the Yankees. They do it, so it would be very similar.
They would be they've already got the baseball background. I mean, they're dominant. The island loves their baseball. And Ray, you could even rebrand the team from the Oakland A's to the Oakland Lays. You could do the Lays, Ray. Look at that.
Good. That's actually, there's no way that would ever happen, but that's pretty good, Kyle. On the fly.
I'm giving away like free marketing right here.
Good work.
Right on the show.
The plan is for them to stay here, but the fans hate them. I don't know if the city likes them. They can't. I mean, it's. I don't know. The plan
There's
is
a lot of land in Hawaii. Just think about the views, Ray, of the Pacific. It would put your crap ballpark in San Francisco to shame. Like, everybody thinks that's a good view.
Right.
It'd have like waterfalls and real palm trees and the Pacific Ocean.
People trolling fire in the 7th
They would
stretch.
make the Giants Park look like, the vet in Philly. It would look that awful if they moved to Hawaii.
You go to your flip-flops or shorts. They serve Mai Tais. They give lays away. The first 5,000 fans, whatever.
Well, everybody in the chat room loves it. Every time I get a compliment, I don't bring it up on the show.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't want to be that guy.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network. However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we are back with On Call with Dr. Roto. Very excited for my next guest. He is from one of my favorite sites out there. It's called oddsjam.com. His name is Randall Knack. Randall, good evening. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. Appreciate you having me on here. Looking forward to talking some sports, talking a little bit about OddsJam. And I lied to you earlier. I sent you a message saying no player props, but they've shown up since I talked to you. So we can get into those with some underdog fantasy and prize picks, and can go from there.
I mean, that's how fast things change in gambling, right? You have no line 1 second, then the next second you do.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's oddsjam, oddsjam.com. So Randall, tell everybody out there, I came across OddsJam. I was watching a YouTube video and I see Alex and I'm like, these guys are just thinking at a different level. What separates OddsJam from the rest?
Yeah, so I mean, it's all mathematically driven. So there's no, this team plays this way at home or this team plays this way on the road. There's no trends or anything like that. It's all numbers based. So essentially what we're doing is we're comparing the odds with multiple sports books, and then we're showing you where the profitable betting opportunities are. So in looking at that with all of the historical data that we have, all of the back testing that we've done, we're able to say that, like, for example, this Brandon Ayuk player prop on Sunday, we're saying that the no vig odds, so these are the odds after you remove the juice, because every sports book, charges you juice to place a bet. So we're saying that the no vig odds for this particular bet is right around -142. And so on Prize Picks, you could actually take Ayuk over 3.5 receptions. And what we've done is we've figured what the actual juice would be on Prize Picks for the over and the under. And so it's -137 both ways. So in this particular example, you can get -137 on Ayuk over 3.5 receptions. And the no vig odds are actually closer to -143. And the average odds across all of the sports books that currently have this prop up is closer to -151. So essentially, we're doing all of the line shopping for you, showing you where the best value is with player props, point spreads. I was just looking a little bit earlier. There's some value tomorrow on the Akron versus Ohio game, under 59.5 points, -105 on FanDuel, -105 on MGM. Every other book has it at 59. Pinnacle and Bet Online, two very, very sharp books, they have it at 59. They have it juiced to the under. So we're essentially getting under 59.5 at -105, whereas there are two other sharp sports books that have it at -115. So it's just a way we show you a lot of different ways that you can look at the data, and you can just compare all of the odds in one place to where you are actually getting an edge over the sports book, and you're not laying a number that is basically negative EV.
So let me just phrase it this way. You're giving me the best plays, but I can't expect that I'm always going to win just because the play seems the odds are in my favor, right? But the thought is, if I played it 10 times, I might win 6 and lose 4. So I'm coming out ahead slightly each time.
Yeah, exactly. So, EV betting is definitely something that is long-term. So, you could place 50 bets and you may not be profitable, but after, say, 250, 300, 500 bets, you have a better chance of being profitable. Now, you can certainly be profitable after 50 bets. But when you're dealing with math, it's the law of large numbers. So essentially, if you and I were going to flip a coin, and heads was 52%, tails was 48%. That's what it was going to come up every time. If I offer you, which side do you want? You're of course going to take the head side, because if we flip that coin, say 1,000 times, you're going to win 52% of the time. So you're getting an edge. And one thing that's really cool about this is we can see, like, with this Ayuk prop that I mentioned just a little bit ago, the win percentage on that particular play, if you were betting it on Prize Picks, is right around 58%. So you're getting, something at much better odds, with a higher win percentage. So that's something that I like to look at as well, is to just see what the win percentage is. And we can get into a couple of other plays, if you guys are interested in hearing, like a 2-leg entry for Prize Picks. I can give, actually, I've got a couple plays here that pop up for Prize Picks, and then there are quite a few for underdogs. So, but yeah,
don't tease us, Randall. Give me a couple of Prize Picks. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Prize Picks, we mentioned this one earlier. Ayuk over 3.5 receptions. Very, very solid play. When I look at this line, like I said, the average odds across all of the sports books that currently have that up, and it's quite a few right now, it is right around -151. So over 3.5, Ayuk is a solid play. Bet Online has that -159. Pinnacle has that -183. So you're getting -137. And then the other one that's good is Carlos Santana, over a half player basis for the game tomorrow, Mariners and Blue Jays. Now that one is not as big of an edge. The average odds on that are -137, but you're laying -137. So you're not taking something that, is negative in that sense, if you're comparing it to the average odds. Now, if you actually remove the juice from that one, it would be considered a negative EV play because the no big odds are -120. But the one thing, like I said, I always like to look at is just making sure, the average odds across the market, making sure I'm getting the best of that. And so you can do that with OddsJam. Now, at 11:40 on a Friday night, not a lot of value out there, but with NBA coming, there's going to be a ton of player props night in and night out. Just to give you a couple for underdog very quickly here, James Conner, under 3.5 receptions has a lot of value. And then Marvin Jones, under 3.5 receptions has a lot of value as well. And then Robbie Ray, under 4.5 strikeouts. So all of those have some good value, that you can use to build entries for, either underdog or price picks.
Now, you mentioned earlier about NBA and not Friday night at 11:40. When is the best time to go on OddsJam and see those props and see those odds so we can capitalize and get rich?
Yeah. So, if you're looking for just specifically, player props for like prize picks and underdog, typically in the morning when those lines come out. Now, granted, these NFL lines, they're a little bit different. They're out, well in advance. We know that the games are going to be played. We know what players are most likely playing. But for the NBA, let's say it's a Tuesday night, and you're looking at the games for tomorrow, checking it out, kind of late Tuesday night, assuming that the games or players you're looking at are not currently in a game. But like looking for, players early Wednesday morning for the Wednesday night games, let's say maybe 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Eastern, you can really find some good value. And you can see the lines move. This Brandon Ayuk play, I would venture to guess by the time this goes off, I would say Prize Picks probably moves it to 4, just based on what I'm looking at, with all of the data. Now, no guarantee there, but they're definitely off in terms of what the line should actually be. So getting those plays earlier, the better in terms of getting value.
Okay. There's something that drew me to OddsJam, and I'm going to spend more time talking on it, maybe just touch on it tonight for people. Arbitrage betting.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's the Chinese water torture of betting, because you may not make $1 million, but you're going to make money every time you place a bet. Can you tell people out there what arbitrage betting is and how they can benefit from doing it?
Yeah. So, it's essentially, a way to make risk-free money. And I'm looking here, I don't have this calculator actually on my laptop, but I can go just kind of a rough example here of what you can make with that. So right now for a game tomorrow, you could take the over 5.5 runs in the Mariners Blue Jays game at -200. FanDuel is giving you under 5.5 at +215. So essentially you're getting -200 +215. Somebody's off. That's what creates an arbitrage opportunity. One book is wrong. And so if you wanted to bet $200 on the MGM side, you wanted to bet 95 on the FanDuel side, you're looking at a profit of right around $4.75. Now, guaranteed, no matter what happens. Now, again, a lot of people listening or looking at this are probably saying, well, why would you put up $295 to make roughly, let's just say $5? But the idea is if you can, let's say you can hit, say 3 of those a day and you can make $15 a day. And let's just say you're operating with $1,000 bankroll. So you're putting, up $1,000 every day. You can make some really good money. I started out with arbitrage betting with about a $3,000 bankroll. And in a little over 6 months, I was able to turn that into a little over 15 grand of profit. So it takes time. It's definitely not a passive form of income, but like you mentioned, it's guaranteed money. You can't, this game tomorrow is either going to land under 5 runs or over 5 runs. And if it lands, right on 5, you still cash because it's 5.5 both ways. So very cool. And then, just very quickly, one tool we offer is our middles page as well, which is very similar to Arbitrage. A couple of weeks ago, Devin Duvernay was over 24.5 receiving yards, even money, under 25.5 receiving yards, plus 110. He landed right on 25. So you hit both. And we were going to make money either way, but it just so happened to land in the middle. So you actually cashed both bets. So the middles page is kind of like Arbitrage, but a risk-free way to potentially, either hit it right in the middle or push one bet and cash the other. So.
All right. Before we let you go, is there a code out there that you can give people? Is there something, that they can sign up? If they sign up for Odds Jam tonight, is there a way how do they go about doing it?
Yeah. So, if you're looking to sign up for Odds Jam tonight, you can go just to the website. oddsjam.com/subscribe. You can start a 7-day trial. You'll actually get an email from me here, probably within 4 to 5 hours after signing up. So if you get that email, shoot me an email. If you watch this show, I'll send you a code. I actually should have created one before I came on here, but I wasn't thinking. But shoot me an email when you sign up. Mention the show with Dr. Roto, and I'll apply a discount to your account for you.
Randall, I can't wait to get you on more often. I think that you guys are a terrific site, and the insight I got tonight, I'm thinking Brandon Ayuk is my guy this week.
I like it. He's on my fantasy team too, so I'm hoping he does well.
I'm hoping it does well too. It was great having you on. Hope to have you on again soon.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it. All right, that's Randall Knack from oddsjam.com, oddsjam.com. I'm telling you, they're thinking at a higher level than we are, and that's why they're winning money. We're back right after this.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. We decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
I eat breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's the equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got this steak sandwich, which was
steak sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man. You're an
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that. No,
Alfredo, that house.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse and get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. I didn't realize they were famous for waffles. Hey, look.
The name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffle.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network.
On call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we are back. Dr. Roto with you here. That was really good stuff from Randall. And I think when you talk to people who truly understand the betting galaxy, you learn a lot and you get smarter. He's throwing out terms to give us insight, and I will have him on a ton more because my job here is to not only give you the winners, but to provide the people out there who can also give you the winners. Right? If I can't do it, I'm going to find you somebody who can do it. And I can do it. But I want to find people. That's right, Jalen. It was great information from Randall. It's great. Sign up at OddsJam. Right? Sign up for the free trial. Tell them you listen to them, and they'll give you a big discount. It's worth it. If you're going to play, here's what I always say. If you're going to play smart. It is. It's next level and unique. So I'm going to tell you the following. Okay? I'm going to tell you the following. And this is very true. If I lived in a state that had it, I would do arbitrage betting all day long. Because you can't lose. It's a win. Now, when you go on to OddsJam, you're going to see the arbitrage betting, and it'll tell you what percent that you will win. It could be as little as 0.87%. It could be as high as 9%. And then they have live in-game arbitrage numbers where you can make money. Now, the thing about arbitrage betting is you need to be at your desk, right? You're going to have a couple of computers open because you're going to click at that moment, because let me tell you what happens. Sure enough, the hedge switches very quickly. So you got to be on it at that moment. Make that bet, and you're guaranteed to win because you're hedging it. So let's go with what he said earlier. Let's just say you win $15 a day. Doesn't sound like much, does it? Well, I don't know. You just won $100 a week. Well, you just won $400 a month. Now, instead of putting down $200, maybe you're putting down $500 because you know you're not going to lose. If he went from 3K to 15K in 6 or 7 months, what do you think you're going to do in a year? And all you had to do was sit at your computer and click the buttons at the same time. Click, click, one site, the other. I would literally sit at my computer, if I could, in the state of Florida. I promise you this. I would literally have every sports book open, and I would just go through them. I'd go on OddsJam site, and as soon as I saw two, click BetMGM, FanDuel, click. DraftKings, BetRivers, click. Whatever it is, click. And I win. I don't even have to think. Now, on top of that, on top of making money that way, they're also giving you the EV bets. And you always want to be plus EV. And I think what he said was interesting. And I believe this to be true, by the way. People join fantasy sites all the time. People come to drroto.com, they pay the monthly fee, and all of a sudden they think that they're going to win in DFS. Well, they stay for 2 weeks. Let's say they lose for 2 weeks. This here. Site doesn't suck. Got some really great guys who play. I got some really, really great guys who play. Maybe you just didn't win. Maybe you'll win in the 3rd week. Maybe the 4th week. You laid down 250 bets. There's no guarantee that you win them. But if you bet a bunch of them, you will eventually win. You will come out ahead if you're plus EV. The odds are in your favor the math is in your favor. It's like, have you ever seen the site Run the Sims? Well, look, if they run the sim every 10,000 times, and 10,000 times James Robinson is going to have 74 yards against the Texans, who's to say that he doesn't break off a big tackle and have 104 yards? Or who's to say he doesn't hurt his hamstring and have 14 yards? There are anomalies, but they're saying if we play this game 10,000 times, he would have 74 yards each time. That's what gambling is about when you think about it, especially prop betting. These Prize Picks, Underdog, all these sites, they're running the sims. They're simulating the game 10,000 times. They're saying they think James Robinson is going to have 74.5 yards. And now do you think it's going to be over or under that? Why does the number always feel so close? Because the simulations tell you that. Now, we as fantasy analysts and fantasy fans, we have to say, well, you know, do I think, I'm just looking at Prize Picks here. Do I think so-and-so is going to have more receiving yards? Do I think Terry McLaurin's going to go over 55? Do I think, you know, Brandon Cooks goes over 65? Right? And you think about it that way. So if you do that, you're going to play it smartly, right? You're going to play it smartly and you're going to win. And that's what it's all about. It's about winning more often than losing. Gambling is about doing it enough times that you come out ahead. If you win 60% of your bets, you are better than 99% of gamblers out there. Every gambler tells you when he wins. He never tells you when he loses. But if you win 58% of the time in the NFL, dude, sign me up for your site. I want to be on it. Chris Kennedy's on a heater on his prop bets. This guy's hitting it like 76. No, sorry, Trevor Hillstrom's hitting 76.7% at sharkplays.com. Why is everybody not signing up at sharkplays.com right now? I have no idea. The dude's hitting at a 76.7 clip. Trevor Hillstrom, sharkplays.com, 76.7 clip. Why are we taking that? We'd rather be at a site where some dude is winning at 49% of the time? Come on. It's math. It's simple math. Math that works in our favor. So play the percentages. Find the sites that are going to help you. Find the sites that teach you the next level thinking and come out ahead. All right, so real quick, I don't think I got to the game. Kansas City against the Raiders. I love me some Kelsey. I love me some Juju. Love me some Mahomes. Keep your eye on Pacheco. Starting to look a little better last week. And, of course, Clyde Edwards-Helaire always seems to find the end zone. I like Hunter Renfrow. I like Devontae Adams. I'm okay with Josh Jacobs, but I think last week was his week. Don't go chasing those points, okay? Don't go chasing those points. But I wish you tons of luck this week. Tons of luck this week. And I'll be back Monday morning. That's right. Doc and the Moose from 10 a.m. to noon. I'm looking forward to that. But check me out at drroto.com. But for right now, I want to thank Tyler Soto. I want to thank Anthony Rivera. I want to thank Randall Knack from OddsJam. I want to thank Chris Everett from drroto.com. And I want to thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Okay? I wish you guys much luck. I hope you win. I do. I hope you win. And Asan says if he loses, he's out. You're not out. That's why we love this. You're back in because that's how we roll. All right, guys. This is Dr. Roto saying be well. Take care.